Yeah, for sure. I feel like they respect the way I go about my business, you know. And being a backup and everything, sometimes you have to compromise your personality and change the way how you do things, you know, to never step on anybody's toes. So the fact that I got an opportunity and I was able to show the organization, show everybody who I really am, then that was truly exciting. So, you know, everybody's not in the best situation, you know, but there's no excuse. You got to go out there and perform. Like, there's no choice, there's no question. Nobody cares if this was 1 week of prep. Who cares? You know, so a lot of people want to see me fail, and it ain't going to happen. You know, it ain't going to happen.
Shedeur Sanders just sent a message that's breaking hearts across the NFL. And it's not what you think. The kid flat out admitted he never got the summer reps, never practiced with the first team, and was set up to fail from day one. But here's what's crazy. Instead of complaining, instead of making excuses, he stood in front of the media and said he felt relaxed before his first start. Now, while everyone's debating whether a fifth-round pick who got skipped by every team at least 5 times deserved this shot, Shad just exposed the truth about what really happened behind closed doors in Cleveland. No training camp with the starters, no preseason chemistry. Just a rookie thrown into the fire against a defense that eats quarterbacks alive. And the most heartbreaking part, he's not even mad about it. But should he be?
I would say getting thrown into the Ravens game. I say that's what it is. As soon as we got that last drive, I said, oh yeah, this how they play? Then I was able to get right. It's different when you watch it from the sideline. Like, everybody could analyze, everybody could say everything from sideline. You could watch TV, everything. You could talk on TV, whatever you want to do. But until you get out there and you do it, then it's different. Going out there, you know.
I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. It's not that unusual that a backup quarterback would not have seen or barely any action with the first team. I have covered the NFL. I've covered NFL practices before. The unusualness of the situation is that you have 2 rookies. With Dillon Gabriel being the starter, the problem is that he has to get all the reps because he's just as inexperienced as Shedeur. You guys have to understand that NFL teams value efficiency more than anything. And they really have to maximize practice time because honestly, they're only practicing 3, maybe 4 days a week. They don't practice every single day. And in case you further don't believe me, this is something that Luke McCown, who is a career backup, who wrote. The only time mid-round pick rookies and backups get meaningful reps is in training camp. And they are never with the ones unless you are competing or starting that next preseason game. Again, just what I told y'all, because I do believe that Shedeur spent time running scout team. You know, when you run scout team, you're playing the opposition. You're the other team's quarterback. I do not think that Kevin Stefanski was on board with drafting Shedeur Sanders. But do I think he would go so far as to sabotage him to the point where it would cost them games? I don't know that I buy that part either.
Let me paint you a picture of what Shedeur just revealed, because this is where it gets real. Imagine being drafted in the 5th round. That alone is a slap in the face for a kid who is projected way higher. But then you get to your NFL team, and they don't even give you a fair shot in training camp. No first-team reps, no meaningful snaps with the actual starters. You're sitting there watching, studying, preparing like your life depends on it, but they won't even let you compete properly. And Shedeur didn't sugarcoat it either. He straight up said, just because I didn't get the summer reps, just because I wasn't in, and then someone off camera literally interrupted him and said, tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. Because even the people in that room knew what was happening wasn't right. They knew this kid was getting the short end of the stick. But here's where Shedeur shows you why he's different from every other quarterback in that building. Instead of throwing a fit, instead of demanding a trade or going to social media to complain, he said something that should make every GM in the league regret passing on him. That's how life is. Everybody's not in the right situation, but it's no excuse. You got to go out there and perform. There's no choice. Nobody cares if this was 1 week of prep. Think about that for a second. This kid just accepted that the system was rigged against him and still decided to ball out. That's not just confidence. That's a different level of mental toughness that you can't teach in a playbook. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Maybe he just wasn't ready. Maybe the coaching staff saw something in practice that we didn't see. And look, I get it. Not every rookie deserves to start immediately. But here's the thing that doesn't add up. When Shedeur finally got his chance against the Steelers, what happened? The kid went 11 of 20 for 209 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, an 87.3 passer rating in his first NFL start.
Nah, I was a fifth-round pick. I got skipped by everybody at least 5 times. so it's not. It just come with the game. It is what it is. But I'm just thankful for where I am now. I don't. Everybody have their differences. But I still got an opportunity to play. So why can I be mad? Money different, but thankfully I have a good family. So it is what it is. We're not playing for that. We're playing for the love of the game. So
let that sink in. First NFL start against a Steelers defense that's been destroying quarterbacks all season. And he did that with basically no preparation with his actual teammates, no summer chemistry building with his receivers, no training camp reps to understand the speed of NFL defenses. He got thrown into a Ravens game mid-season just to see how they play, and then had to face Pittsburgh with the entire Brown season on his shoulders. And Shedeur even broke down what that Ravens experience was like. He said the moment he got thrown into that game, oh yeah, this is how they play. Because watching from the sideline is completely different from actually being out there. You can analyze all you want. You can watch film until your eyes bleed. But until you're standing in that pocket with 300-pound monsters trying to separate your head from your body, you don't truly understand what NFL football feels like. Here's what makes this even crazier. Shedeur pointed out something that nobody's really talking about. He said there are a lot of veteran quarterbacks who were backups and got thrown into games and did all right, but not in their rookie year. That's the difference. This kid had to learn on the fly in real game situations with zero margin for error. And he didn't just survive, he actually showed flashes of being elite. But let's get back to the heartbreaking part of all this, because this is where you start to see the full picture of what Shedeur went through. When he talks about the last 6 months of his life, you can hear something in his voice that goes beyond football. This isn't just about not getting first-team reps. This is about a kid who came from a legendary football family who had expectations through the roof, who got drafted way lower than he should have, and then got treated like he didn't belong. He talked about how he had to compromise his personality as a backup, had to change the way he did things to never step on anybody's toes. Can you imagine being Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion, a Heisman contender at Colorado, a kid who's been bred for this moment his entire life, and then having to basically shrink yourself down just to fit into a system that didn't believe in you?
Schools and it's not the best, but you got a lot of different people from different situations that you got to be able to adapt to. So that's where all those core different things of being able to relate, being able to understand. But now, since I went through everything the past 6 months, it led me to a whole different understanding, and
that's the part that should break your heart, because Shedeur isn't just talented. He's got the mindset of a champion. He talked about how his dad moved them around growing up specifically to build that dog mentality, from a 30,000 square foot home to playing ball in the inner city, from private schools to charter schools where you had to adapt to all different types of people and situations. Deion was preparing his sons for exactly this kind of adversity, and it shows. But here's the twist that makes this whole story even more compelling. Despite everything, despite being overlooked and underutilized, Shedeur isn't bitter at all. In fact, he said something that shows exactly why the Browns might have stumbled into something special, even if they didn't mean to. He said, "I'm just thankful for where I am now. Everybody has their differences, but I still got the opportunity to play. So why could I be mad? Money's different, but thankfully I have a good family. We're not playing for that. We're playing for the love of the game." You hear that? 5th round pick money versus 1st round money is a massive difference. We're talking millions of dollars. But Shedeur isn't focused on that. He's not sitting around feeling sorry for himself about the contract he didn't get or the respect he didn't receive. He's locked in on proving everyone wrong. And let's be real for a minute. This is exactly the kind of chip-on-the-shoulder mentality that creates legendary careers. You know who else was underestimated coming into the league? Tom Brady, 6th round. Russell Wilson, 3rd round. Both of them used that disrespect as fuel for decades of dominance.
Oh no, we definitely had a game plan for him. He's a great player overall, and he let his presence be known. And, going and just reflecting, I'm in a moment right now, so we don't truly understand, how everything was. Because when you're in the moment, you can't see full view of everything. So I'm thankful for it.
Now, I'm not saying Shedeur is going to be the next Brady or Wilson, but what I am saying is that the Browns might have accidentally found themselves a quarterback who's got something that can't be measured at the combine or evaluated in practice. He's got heart, he's got faith, and he's got an unshakable belief that no matter what situation he's put in, he's going to find a way to win. Let's talk about the faith aspect for a second, because this is huge for understanding Shedeur's mindset. Multiple times during his press conference, he talked about God and having faith. He said half of his calmness before the game came from preparation, but the other half came from knowing I got God on my side. He talked about how God took all my worries away and how nothing's possible without him. Now, whether you're religious or not, you have to respect what that kind of belief system does for a player. When you're facing Max Crosby and the Steelers' defensive front, when you've got millions of people watching and waiting for you to fail, when you know that one bad performance could send you right back to the bench, having that mental peace is invaluable. And Shedeur made it clear that people want to see him fail. He straight up said it. A lot of people want to see me fail, and it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. That's not arrogance. That's certainty. That's a kid who's been counted out so many times that he stopped caring about the doubters and started focusing on the believers. Let's talk about the actual game for a minute, because the stats don't tell the whole story. Sure, 11 of 20 isn't a mind-blowing completion percentage, and yeah, that one interception is gonna be what the haters focus on. But context matters here. This was against a Steelers defense that's been one of the best in the league. This was with an offensive line that's been struggling all season. This was with receivers he barely had time to build chemistry with.
The thing is, I visualize everything during the week. The game was already played, so that's why I have confidence. That's why I'm able to talk how I talk, walk how I walk, do what I'm able to do, because the game was already mentally played already before we was out there. Then when you get out there, you confirm, what you watch, everything. And
despite all that, Shedeur moved the ball. He made plays when they mattered. He showed poise in the pocket. He didn't look like a deer in headlights like so many rookie quarterbacks do in their first start. He looked like he belonged. Shedeur even talked about how he visualizes everything during the week. He said the game was already played before he stepped on the field. That's why he has confidence. That's why he can talk the way he talks and walk the way he walks. Because mentally, he's already seen every scenario, every blitz, every coverage. So when he gets out there, he's just confirming what he already knew. That level of mental preparation is elite. That's not something every 22-year-old quarterback has figured out. But Shedeur had to figure it out because he didn't have the luxury of gradual development. He had to be ready immediately or he was going to get exposed. Here's another thing that's not getting enough attention. Shedeur's relationship with his teammates. He talked about how all the rookies on the team have a special bond. They have a term for themselves that he couldn't say on camera, but it's clear they see themselves as the future. They talk about creating change, about being proactive instead of reactive. They know the offense has struggled, and they're ready to be the spark. That's leadership. That's a guy who's not just focused on his own stats, but on building a culture. The fact that he's already forming those connections and having those conversations shows maturity beyond his years. And let's give credit where credit's due. Shedeur made sure to thank everyone. His offensive line for taking him under their wing, the coaches for putting players in position to succeed, the whole team for having his back during a difficult period. That's humility mixed with confidence, and it's a rare combination.
Nah, I was a fifth-round pick. I got skipped by everybody at least 5 times. so it's not. It just come with the game. It is what it is. But I'm just thankful for where I am now. I don't. Everybody have their differences. But I still got an opportunity to play. So why can I be mad? Money different, but thankfully I have a good family. So it is what it is. We're not playing for that. We're playing for the love of the games.
But the most powerful moment of his entire press conference was when he talked about having the responsibility of the Browns organization on his shoulders. He knows what it means to this fan base. He knows about all the fans arguing online about whether he deserves to be there. He's aware of all the differences of opinion. And his response? It is what it is. I'm just thankful I'm here. That's grace under pressure. That's a kid who understands that the noise doesn't matter. Only the results do. And the results from his first start? They were promising. Not perfect, but promising. And for a fifth-round pick who didn't get first-team reps all summer, promising is actually incredible. So where does this leave us? Where does this leave Shedeur and the Browns moving forward? Because that's the real question, right? Was this just a one-game audition? Or is this the beginning of something special? Here's what we know. Shedeur can play. We saw it. The tape doesn't lie. He made NFL throws. He stood in against pressure. He led his team with confidence. But we also know that the Browns didn't exactly set him up for success. No summer reps, no real preparation time, just here's the playbook, good luck. And that's what makes his message so heartbreaking, because you can hear in his words that he would have been even better if they had just given him a fair shot from the beginning. Imagine what he could do with a full offseason program. Imagine what he could do with an actual training camp competing for the starting job. Imagine what he could do with time to build chemistry with his receivers and develop trust with his offensive line. The potential is scary, and the Browns have to be kicking themselves right now for not recognizing it sooner. Because while they were busy protecting other quarterbacks' feelings and maintaining some kind of pecking order, they were wasting valuable development time with a kid who clearly has what it takes.
For the love of the game. So I'm just thankful to be out here, have the opportunity, be able to go and play. Go out there and play, go out there and start. Like, you don't know how surreal, that feeling is, knowing that you have the responsibility of the Browns organization on your shoulders, Having all the fans, Everybody in here arguing with each other online and everything. Everybody have their differences about me. It is what it is, but I'm just thankful.
But here's the beautiful part of Shedeur's story. He's not making excuses. He's not blaming anyone. He's not playing the victim. He's taking responsibility, staying humble, and letting his play do the talking. That's the kind of mentality that wins championships. That's the kind of character that builds dynasties. Now, is Shedeur Sanders going to be the savior of the Browns franchise? Is he going to be the one who finally ends the curse and brings Cleveland back to relevance? I don't know. Nobody knows. But what I do know is this. If you're a Browns fan, you should be excited. Because for the first time in a long time, you've got a quarterback who actually wants to be there, who's willing to fight through adversity, and who has the talent to back up his confidence. And if you're a Shedeur Sanders doubter, well, you might want to start reconsidering your position. Because this kid just showed you that even when the system is rigged against him, even when he doesn't get the preparation he deserves, even when people are actively rooting for him to fail, he's still going to find a way to succeed. That's not luck. That's not a fluke. That's heart. That's grit. That's the Sanders legacy in action. The only question left is, will the Browns be smart enough to ride with him, or are they going to waste another generational talent? So, here's what I want to know from you. Do you think the Browns screwed up by not giving Shedeur first-team reps from day one? Was this whole situation designed to make him fail, or were they just being cautious with the rookie? And most importantly, after everything you just heard, do you believe Shedeur Sanders is the real deal, or is this just one good game that's going to fade away? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. And if you made it this far, you're clearly invested in this story. So hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this Shedeur Sanders journey is just getting started. We're going to be tracking every game, every stat, every moment of his rise. Don't miss it. Let's go, baby. Shedeur Sanders' era might just be beginning in Cleveland.